Number one, looking at the overall view of my truck, looks good, setting level. I've got 5 amber marker lights on top. Lens not cracked, broken, or missing. It's secured to the truck with screws. I don't see any cracks in my windshield or anything that would obstruct my view. And now, basically, I'm looking over the truck, and I don't see any low-hanging wires. I don't see anything leaking. Now, come on up to the truck, please. Looking at my grill secured to the cab of the truck. Don't see any damage, secured with bolts. Looking at my bumper secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at my pull hooks, and they're also secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at my headlight lens, it's clear in color, not cracked, broken, or missing. I don't see any moisture build up, and my headlight bulb is present. I'm looking over here, and this is basically an amber bulb in the side. And this operates my running lights, my turn signals, my emergency flashers. Looking over here on the side, I've got a amber lens. It's not cracked, broken, or missing. And this operates, you won't have to do it on this side. This operates my running lights. Looking at my air breather, the air indicator's in green. It's secured to the firewall. Looking at my radiator secured to the frame. Don't see any damage or leaks. Looking at my radiator hose, basically it's not frayed, cracked, or leaking. Looking at my fan shroud secured to the radiator. Looking at my fan blades, they're none cracked, broken, or missing. I'm looking at my air conditioner compressor. It's secured to the engine with bolts. Looking at my alternator, it's secured to the engine with bolts, and all the wires are secured and connected. Basically, my AC compressor and my alternator is belt driven, and if I pull on the belt and I have more than 3/4 inches of play, it's out of adjustment. The belt is not frayed or cut. I'm looking at my water pump. My water pump is secure. I don't see any leaks on the lines coming off of it, and my water pump is gear driven. Looking at my horn, and my horn secured to the truck. Okay, come up here. I'm looking at my radiator reservoir. It's looking at sight glass, and it's filled to the max. Looking at my radiator cap is secured, not leaking. Looking at lines coming off my radiator, and basically they're not cut, frayed, or leaking. I'm looking at my windshield wiper, which I should have got on the other side. The rubber's in good condition, and the tension feels good on it. I'm looking at my windshield wiper motor, and it's secured. I'm looking at my brake controls, basically that go inside my truck. The lines are not cut, and I don't hear any audible leaks on them. Looking at my oil and my transmission fluid. Basically, if you'd like me to, I'll pull it out and show you how to check it, or I can tell you. I would basically pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, and make sure it's at operating level. Also looking at my fuse box, all the wires are connected, none hanging loose. I'm looking at my windshield wiper reservoir. It's secured to the frame of the truck, and it is not leaking. I'm also looking down here at my air compressor, and the air lines coming off of it are not cracked. I don't hear audible leaks. I'm looking at my power steering pump. It's secured to the engine. Looking at the lines coming off of it, and it's not leaking. Also looking at my power steering reservoir. It's at operating level, and it's secured to the frame with brackets. And my air compressor and my power steering pump are gear driven. Okay, I'm basically looking at my steering shaft and no excessive play. It's secured, and I'm looking at my U-joints on both ends of it, and they're properly greased and no debris. I'm looking at my shock absorber. My shock absorber is not damaged, it's not leaking. Okay, I'm looking at my front and rear spring hangers, and they're secured to the frame. Looking at springs, they're not cracked, broken, missing, or scissored. Looking at my U-bolts that secure them to the axle, and all bolts are present. Okay, I'm looking at my gearbox. My gearbox is secured to the frame of the truck. And then I'm looking at my pitman arm. My pitman arm is secured to the gearbox with a pinch nut. The pitman arm, my drag length, my lower control steering arm, and my tie rod end basically are not damaged in any way, no excessive play, and they're all secured with castle nuts and Carter keys. Okay, I'm looking at my brake chamber. My brake chamber is secured. Don't hear any audible leaks on it. Looking at my air lines running to it, they're not cut frayed or no audible leaks. Basically looking at my tie rod end. My tie rod end is basically secured. My tie rod is not tie rod. No, it's not the chamber. This is my slack adjuster. My slack adjuster rod is not bent or damaged in any way. If I can pull it more than 1 inch, it'd be out of adjustment, and it's secured with pins and Carter keys. Okay, I'm looking at my brake drum. My brake drum is not cracked, no illegal wells. Looking at my brake shoes, they're not cracked, broken, or missing, and they must be 1/4 inch or more to be in compliance. I'm looking, there's no oil or debris on my brake shoes or my brake drum. I'm looking at my rim on the inside, it's not damaged, no illegal wells. Looking at the tire on the inside of the tire. The inside of the tire is not, don't have any abrasions, cuts, or bubbles, and it's secured properly to the rim. Tread depth, it must be 4/32 or more to be in compliance, and there's 100 pound of pressure in my front and rear tires, and there can be no recaps on the front. Okay, looking at my rim. My rim don't have any cracks, illegal wells in it. Looking at my valve stem is secured, it's not leaking. Looking at my lug nuts, they're all secured. There's no shiny threads or rust trails, which would indicate looseness. I'm looking at my front hub oil seal. All the bolts are present, and the oil is at operating level. Tell him my truck is chalked, and I've got the keys in my pocket. The reason they want the keys in your pocket is because they don't want you down there in the truck with the keys in it. Somebody started up my road. But anyway, I'm looking at the overall view of my truck. It looks good. It's sitting level, which indicates I don't have any suspension problems or shifted load. I'm looking at the top of my truck. I got 5 marker lights on top. Basically, the lenses are amber in color. They're not cracked, broken, or missing, and they're secured to the cab with screws. I'm looking under my truck, and basically I don't see any low hanging wires or any kind of leaks. Come on, walk up to the truck with me, please. Okay, looking at my grill. My grill's not damaged in any way. Secured to the cab of the truck with screws. Looking at my bumper secured to the truck. Looking at my pull hooks. My pull hooks are secured to the frame of the truck and under my bumper. I'm looking at my headlight lens. It's clear in color. The lens not cracked, broken, or missing, and there's no moisture buildup. And my headlight bulb is present. I'm looking over here on the side. I have my amber lights that's in here, and this basically operates my turn signals, my running lights, and my emergency flashers. I'm looking at my amber light here on the side, my amber lens, not cracked, broken, or missing, and this operates my turn signal, running lights, and emergency flashers. Okay, I'm looking at my windshield wiper here, feels like proper tension, and the rubber is in good shape. Looking at my air breather is secured to the firewall, and I'm looking at my air breather indicator, and it shows everything's clear. Looking at my radiator secured to the frame of the truck. Don't see any damage, and it's not leaking. I'm looking at my fan shroud. My fan shroud secured to the radiator. Looking at my fan blades, there's none cracked, broken, or missing. I'm looking at my AC compressor. My AC compressor is secured to the engine with bolts. I'm also looking at my alternator. My alternator is secured to the engine with bolts, and there's no frayed wires on any of it. And basically they're belt driven. Looking at my belt, it's not frayed or cut, and I can't have any more than 3/4 inches of play in there. I'd be out of adjustment. I'm looking at my water pump. Looking at the lines coming off the water pump. The water pump is secured to the engine, and it is belt driven, and none of the lines are leaking on it. Looking at my air horn is secured to the frame of the truck. Okay, on this side here, I come over here, get my windshield wiper again. Rubber's good, tension looks proper. Looking at my windshield wiper motor, it's secured to the cab of the firewall, to the cab of the truck. I'm looking at my air brake controller, and looking at the lines coming off of it. They're not cracked, frayed, and I don't hear any audible leaks. I'm looking at my wiring harness, my fuse box, and it's all in good shape and no frayed or cut wires. Looking at my radiator, looking at my sight glass shows that it's operating level. Looking at the water lines coming off of it, they're not cracked, frayed, or leaking in any way. Okay, I'm looking at my oil and transmission dipstick. If you'd like me, I'll show you how I would do it, or I can tell you, and they'll normally say tell me. I would pull it out, wipe it off, put it back in, pull it out, and make sure the oil's at operating level. Do the same thing with the transmission, only the truck must be running. Okay, I'm looking at my air compressor here, and my air compressor is secured to the engine with bolts. Looking at the air lines coming off of it. I don't crack, frayed, I don't hear any audible leaks. Looking at my power steering pump down here, it's secured to the engine with bolts. My air compressor and my power steering pump is both belt driven. Okay, I'm looking at my power steering reservoir. My power steering reservoir is at operating level. I'm looking at the lines coming off my power steering reservoir, and they're not leaking. Okay, I'm looking at my windshield wiper fluid. It's secured to the frame of the truck. Don't see any of the lines coming off of it leaking. I'm looking at my steering shaft. My steering shaft don't have any excessive play. And looking at the U-joints on my steering shaft, and they're both greased properly and free of debris. Okay, I'm looking at my shock absorber. It's not damaged or leaking. I'm looking at my front and rear spring hangers. They're secured to the frame of the truck. I'm looking at my springs. They're not cracked, broken, or scissored. Looking at my U-bolts that secure my springs to the axle of the truck. And all bolts are present, and it's tight. I think I got my shock absorbers not damaged or leaking. I'm looking at my power steering gearbox secured to the frame of the truck with bolts, and looking at the lines coming off of it, and they're not cracked, frayed, or leaking. I'm looking at my pitman arm. My pitman arm is secured to my power steering gearbox with a pinch nut. Okay, I'm looking at my drag length. I'm looking at my lower control steering arm, and I'm looking at my tie rod arm. And all of them are secured with castle nuts and Carter keys, and none of them are bent or damaged in any way. I'm looking at my brake chamber here. My brake chamber is secured to the axle. Basically, don't see any damage to it or any leaks. Looking at the air lines coming to them, they're not crack frayed, and I don't hear any audible leaks. Looking at my ABS line, which is an extra point, and my ABS line is secured. Looking at my slack adjuster, and my slack adjuster rod is not bent. If I pulled it more than 1 inch, it would be out of adjustment, and the slack adjuster rod is held on by pins and Carter keys. I'm looking at my brake drum. My brake drum is not cracked or damaged. No illegal welds. Looking at my brake shoes. My brake shoes are not cracked, broken, or missing, and must be 1/4 inch or more to be in compliance. My inside front seal is not leaking, and my brake shoes and brake drum are free of oil and debris. I'm looking at my rim, not damaged, don't have any illegal welds. Looking at the inside of the tire don't have any abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and it's beaded properly to the rim. Looking at the tread on my front tire, it's wearing evenly, must be 4/32 or more to be in compliant, and no recaps on the front. And this tire holds 125 pound of pressure. Looking at the outside of my tire, there's no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. It's beaded properly to the rim. Looking at the rims, not damaged, don't have any illegal welds. Looking at my lug nuts, you got to touch every one of them. Don't see any shiny thread or rust trails, which would indicate looseness. Looking at my front hub oil seal, it's at operating level. All the bolts are present, and it's not leaking. Okay, looking at my mirror brackets. My mirror brackets hold the mirrors to the door, and the mirrors are held on the brackets. The brackets themselves, the mirror is not cracked, broken, or missing. I'm looking at the weather seal on my door. It's in place. I'm looking at my door hinges, and they're secured to the cab of the truck. And my door opens and shuts properly. I'm looking at my fuel tank. My fuel tank is secured to the frame of the truck with straps, and the rubber's present. Looking at my steps, which are also secured to the fuel tank with straps, and they're free of debris, and they'll hold my weight. Looking at my fuel cap here, it's not leaking. There's a rubber seal under there. If you'd like, I'll take it off and show it to you. No, they're gonna say no. Okay, I'm looking at my amber marker light on the side. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. I just take a couple of doors and say they open and shut properly. At this time, I would go under the truck. The exhaust pipe is secured to the frame of the truck with brackets. I don't see any rust or soot trails, which would indicate looseness. I'm looking at my rear transmission seal, and it's not leaking. I'm looking at my drive line coming down my truck. It's not damaged in any way. I'm looking at my carrier bearing. My carrier bearing is secured to the frame of the truck.
Is that this?
Yeah, it's that right there. It's carrier bearing.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking at my U-joints, which is right under here on this, that, and up front. But I'm looking at my my U-joints. They're greased properly and free of debris. I'm looking at my air dryer. My air dryer is secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at the air lines coming off of it, and don't see any, it's not cracked or frayed, and I don't hear any audible leaks. I'm looking at the frame of my truck and my cross members, and they're not damaged in any way. I'm also looking at my U-bolts that hold the bed of my truck, basic to my frame, and they're present. Okay, now I'm coming back here to the back and looking at my rear differential seal, and it's not leaking. That's that right there, yes. That's the rear differential seal. Okay, now I'm looking at my type C30 brake chamber with a C-clamp present. Right there's your C-clamp. But this is type C30 with a C-clamp present. Looking at the air lines running to it, they're not crack freight. I don't hear any audible leaks. I'm also looking at my slack adjuster, which is behind on the back here. Looking at my slack adjuster rod is not bent or damaged in any way. And if I could pull it more than 1 inch, I would be out of adjustment. And it's held together with pins and Carter keys. Then I come out here and I'm looking at my front and rear spring hangers. They're secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at my springs, they're not cracked, broken, or scissored. I'm also looking at my U-bolts right here that hold my springs, secure my springs to the axle. All the bolts are present and they're tight. Now I'm coming out here and looking at my brake drum. My brake drum don't have any damage or illegal wells in it. I'm looking at my brake shoes. They're not cracked, broken, or missing. Must be a 1/4 inch or more to be in compliance. My rear oil seal is not leaking, and my brake shoes and drums is free of oil and debris. I'm looking at my rim. It's not damaged. Don't have any illegal wells. I'm looking at the inside of my tires, beaded properly to the rim. Don't have any abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. I'm looking at my tread depth running across the back. They're wearing evenly. They must be 2/32 seconds or more to be in compliance. I'm looking at the space in between my tires, and they're even and free of debris. I'm looking at the outside of my inside tire and the inside of my outside tire, and there's no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. It's beaded properly to the rim. I'm looking at the outside of the inside tire and the inside of the outside tire rim, and there's no damaged or illegal wells on either one of them. I'm looking at my rim, and basically I don't have any damage or illegal wells. I'm looking at my lug nuts. They're all tight. I don't see any shiny thread or rust trails which would indicate looseness. I'm looking at both valve stems here and there. They're secured to the frame of the truck and not damaged, and don't hear any leaks. Okay, now I'm coming to my mud flap. My mud flap's secured to the truck, and it's wide enough to cover the width of my tires.
So we don't have to talk about the cover, this cover here?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
I just missed that. That's a rear oil seal and it's not leaking.
Okay.
Okay, now I've come to my license plate. My license plate is secured to the truck. Looking at the license plate light, it's clear in color. Looking at my tail light here, it's red in color. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. And this light operates my running lights, my brake lights, my turn signals, emergency flashers. And this is a backup light, and it's clear in color, and the lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at my marker light bar here on the back, it's red in color. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at my tailgate, and I'm not going to open and shut it, but it's working properly. Now, I'm looking at my back bumper. My back bumper is secured to the frame of the truck. Okay, now I'm looking at my electrical line that is secured to my bumper. And at this time, you tell him my trailer has electric brakes on it.
Okay.
Okay. And look, my electrical line running through the trailer here. Don't see any frays or cuts in it. I'm looking at my bumper hitch. I'd reach under here and touch the bolts, and all the nuts are present. It's tight. I'm also looking to make sure that it's locked safely. I'm looking at my eye bolt here. It's secured to the back of the trailer, and I don't see any damage in it in any way. I'm looking at my safety chains and safety chains and run down through them like that, and I don't see any damage to them whatsoever. I'm looking at my emergency breakaway cable here, and here's the plunger. If the trailer come loose, this would pull out, and the wire runs back down to this electric box here, which would basically operate my electric brakes and lock them down. Looking at the frame of my trailer, the overall frame of the trailer, and the bed looks good. Looking at my reflector tape and touch it, and it's in place. I'm looking at my support leg here. It's secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at the handle, the crank handle, and it is secured basically to the trailer. I'm looking at my 2 amber lights here. Amber in color, lens not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at my D-rings. My D-rings secured. I come down through here and basically looking at my reflective tape, and it's all in place. I'm looking at another D-ring. And then I'm looking at my amber marker light, lens not cracked, broken, or missing. Okay, I'm looking at my electric line. It runs to the front to the back. I don't see any damage whatsoever. It operates my brakes and my all my lights. Looking at the frame of my truck and the cross members, and I don't see any damage whatsoever. Now I'm looking at my front and rear spring hangers. They're secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at my springs, they're not damaged, cracked, or scissored. And I'm looking at my U-bolts that secure my frame to the axle, and all the bolts are present. I'm looking at my brake drum. My brake drum is not damaged or any illegal welds. Looking at my brake shoes, they're not cracked, broken, or missing. Must be a 1/4 inch or more to be in compliance, and they're free of oil and debris. I'm looking at my rim. It's not damaged, don't have any illegal welds in it. I'm looking at the inside of my inside tire. There's no abrasions or bubbles or cuts. I'm looking at the tread depth on these. If they're wearing evenly, they must be 2/32 or more to be in compliant. Looking at the space in between my tires, and they're even. I'm looking at the outside of my inside tire and the inside of my outside tire. There's no abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. I'm looking at the outside of my inside rim and the inside of my outside rim. There's no damage or illegal welds. And these tires hold 80 pound of pressure. Okay. This has a crossfire air up system on them, which airs automatically. Looking at the valve stem, it's all secured to the frame of the truck. Looking at my lug nuts, I'm touching them. Basically, they're not loose. Don't see any rust threads or shiny threads, which indicates looseness. My valve stems are secured to the rim of the truck, rim of the tire, and don't hear any audible leaks. Looking at my rim here, my rim's not damaged. Don't have any illegal welds in it. Looking at my outside of the tire, it don't have any abrasions, bubbles, or cuts, and beat it properly to the rim.
So you went from inside out?
Yeah. Okay. Looking at my reflective tape here, looking at another D-ring that's hooked to my trailer, and basically it's secured. And then I'm looking at my reflective tape down the side, and it's in place. I'm looking at a red marker light here on the side. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. Looking at my ramps are spring loaded and locked. Okay, now I'm looking at my tail lights. They're red in color. The lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. These operates my running lights, brake lights, turn signals, emergency flashers. Looking at my license plate, it's secured to the trailer. Looking at my license plate light, the lens is clear in color, not cracked, broken, or missing. And then I'm looking at some more of my reflective tape. I'm looking at my 3 red marker lights here, and basically the lens is not cracked, broken, or missing. Now, when you come down this side, the only thing you call on this side is something that wasn't over there. Okay, number one, your storage rack wasn't over there. I'm looking at it, it's welded and secured to the trailer. My battery box is secured to the frame of the truck, along with my air tanks. I'm looking at my air tanks. They're not bent or damaged or leaking in any way. I'm looking at the lines that run to my air tanks. They're not cracked, broken. I don't hear any audible leaks. Anyway, looking at my drain cock, it's working. You know, on the truck you'll be taking, it'll be working. And you let a little air out of it and say, I drain my tanks at the end of every shift. Okay. Okay, so you got your steps on the other side, you got your mirrors on the other side. The only thing here is your battery box
So you don't even have to say
and
nothing.
your air tanks.
You don't have to say nothing about the step in the mirror since we already did it.
Right. And so basically that's it. So now, here's the time you want to stay calm. You don't want to think. You get your fire extinguisher, you get your triangles, you get your spare fuses. If you don't have spare fuses, tell them you're on the breaker box. But normally they're supposed to put fire fuses in there for you. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start my truck. And we're gonna check my light indicators and my gauges. And now at this time I'm gonna start my truck up. You've got to tell them everything you're doing.
Okay.
I'm gonna start my truck up and I'm gonna check my light indicators and my gauges, okay? Now, when I turned it on, basically my parking light's on and my ABS light's on. Okay. I started the truck, my parking light's still on, my ABS light went out. Okay. My left turn signal light indicator works, point out. My right turn signal light indicator works. My emergency flasher light indicator works. My dash lights work. My bright light indicator works. And basically that's kind of all your light indicators. Cab lights, where they at? Okay, now what I'm going to do is check my gauges. Okay, my oil's at 60. My water's at 140 because I just started it up. My RPM is at 700 RPM. My speedometer's on 0. My fuel is over 3/4 of a tank. My voltmeter's reading 14. My primary and secondary air is at 100.
So we got to tell him all that?
Yeah, you got to tell him that. Okay, while you're doing your gauges, keep coming this way. Okay, now you're going to check your defrost. Hold your hand up right there. Okay, my defrost is working. Now check your heater in your truck, and my heater's working. Now while you're doing that, I'm going to check my windshield wiper. I'm going to check my windshield wiper fluid. Now they're working. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my brake test. I'm going to start my brake test. So you cut your engine off and you cut your switch back on. A lot of people fail because they don't cut their switch back on or they don't push this button. Okay, and I'm going to start my static test after initial loss. I should lose more than 3 pounds 1 minute. And then you push it in now to start. Okay? So we sit here a minute. You time it. I don't care if it's your watch or if it's your telephone, but time it. Don't cut him short on time because he's timing it too. Okay, my minute's up and I hadn't lost any air pressure. Now I'm going to apply 85 pounds of pressure to my foot brake and hold it for 1 minute, and after the initial loss, I shouldn't lose any more than 4 pounds. So then you apply your foot brake. And you hold it for a complete minute. That gives them a minute and 4 or 5 seconds. Don't cut it short. And say, okay, the minute's up and I hadn't lost any pressure. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is start my pump down test. I'm going to pump it down between 60 to 80 psi. My low air warning light and buzzer should come on. Okay.
That's going to pop out, isn't it?
No. Okay. My low air warning light and buzzers come on. You tell him when it comes on. Now I'm going to continue to pump it down about 30 psi. My parking brake should engage. Okay, now my parking brake engaged. Now what I'm gonna do is start my truck up. I'm gonna run it up to 12 to 1500 RPM to start building my air. When I get to 85 PSI, I'm gonna let off on it because it should build from 85 to 100 PSI in 45 seconds or less at idle. Buzz ring working on this truck. Which if you took this truck, they'd fail you. They'll put you in a different truck when you take the test. Okay, my low air warning light and buzzer just went off. You need to tell them. Okay, now I'm at 85 PSI. It should build to 100 in 45 seconds or less. That other truck won't do it.
So you got to say all this as you're doing it?
Yeah. You gotta tell him all of it. Okay, I'm now at 100 PSI in less than 45 seconds. Now I'm going to continue to give fuel till my air pressure governor pops off around 125.
Oh, you're talking about that.
Pop off, tell them okay, it just popped off. Now what I'm gonna do is get out and remove my chocks. Now what I'm gonna do is do a parking brake test. Okay, your parking brake's already on. You put it in gear and you pull against it. Okay, your parking brake's working. Now what I want to do is a trailer tug test. No trailer brakes, but you'll feel the tug.
Yeah.
Now what I'm going to do is do a service brake test. You pull forward about 5 miles an hour, hold the steering wheel loosely, and put your brakes on. Okay. And what they're doing, they're looking to see if there's any play in your steering. Now, one thing I left out is I can't have any more than 2 inches of play and a 20-inch steering wheel. And you blow your city horn, and then ask him if he wants to blow your air horn. And he's going to say no. There we go. But y'all see where I'm coming from on that?